A few years ago, this was me. I could barely climb a flight of stairs, and I even struggled to do up my shoelaces. I was unhappy, I was unfit, and I was so unhealthy. So I did something about it. Now, this is what I look like, and in today's video, I'm going to show you exactly how I did it.
Hey friends, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Mel, and I'm a new-ish mum on a mission to lose another 20 kilos, get fitter than I've ever been, and improve my mental health. I'm officially calling it my postpartum glow up. And the reason I say I want to lose another 20 kilos is because I've already lost 20 kilos. I am officially 20 kilos down from my heaviest weight ever. And that's what we're going to talk about today. How I lost 20 kilos, how you can too. And there is no surgery, there are no pills, there is no calorie tracking, and there is no gym. So let me start by saying that this fortnight's video is a little bit late. Apologies. The last few weeks have been quite hectic and I have not managed my time very well. But we're here now, so let's get into it. My weight loss so far has spanned many years. And I've been documenting it pretty loosely on YouTube for the last few years. So feel free to check out some of those older videos if you want a better idea of the weight loss journey so far. And also some proof that yes, I was in fact 20 kilos heavier and I've managed to lose half of my intended roughly 40 kilos. And I think it's worthwhile to check out those older videos because I know when I first started, the idea of losing so much weight was so overwhelming and intimidating. And when I jumped on YouTube to see how other people had done it, all I could see were people in smaller bodies who, you know, they'd still achieved incredible things and they'd worked so hard, but I wasn't looking to lose 5 kilos and tone up. I was looking to lose 40 kilos and save my health and my quality of life. And I just wasn't getting enough examples of that. So I'll link some of the more relevant videos below. Feel free to check them out. But for now, let me give you a quick summary of my weight loss timeline for a little bit of background. And if you'd rather skip that and just get to the nitty gritty, then check out the chapter breakdowns in the description below. So I have taken issue with my body for a very long time. And I remember going on my first diet when I was about 8 or 9 years old, which is so sad. And I wasn't even close to being overweight. I was a very healthy, active young kid, yet I still felt the need to lose weight. And I think that sets the scene for my relationship with my body and my relationship with food. When I got to high school, I still struggled with my body image, but at this point, I also started gaining weight and I was binge eating. And from then till about February 2023, so let's call it 20 years, it was a constant battle of weight loss and weight gain. I was always either on a diet or binging. And sometimes I saw a lot of success and I lost weight and I looked good and I felt good. But it never lasted because I was only achieving that weight loss through severe calorie restriction or fad diets. So it was never going to be sustainable. And then from about 2018, I would say, I started gaining a lot of weight very quickly. And I became bigger than I ever could have imagined. I didn't recognize myself and I couldn't understand, and I still don't understand how it got so out of control. And then one day in 2023, I decided that I needed to refresh my why, because my reasons and my motivation to lose weight at that point were clearly running out of steam and I was starting to lose control. So I started looking into the impact that being overweight can have on our health. I don't know why I did that. I don't know where I got the idea from, but I just did it. The heightened risk of disease, the slow damage I was unleashing on my body, and all the pressure and stress I was putting my organs under and my bones under. And then for balance and to instill some hope, I started looking at some of the amazing things that can happen when you start losing weight. The way your body heals and repairs and starts to thrive, and you slowly start reversing your risk of these diseases. And I felt a whole new wave of motivation, and it felt strong. It felt different this time. It wasn't the same old weight loss story. I felt like I was swooping in and I was saving myself, and it felt good. There was a fire lit under my bum and I was off. And that brings us to the start of the story of how I lost 20 kilos. But I lost those 20 kilos through a few different ways and through a few different stages. And we're going to address each one because they're all as important as each other. That's the baby monitor. Okay, we will come back to this. Okay, it is now the next day, as you can probably tell, and we've gone for a much more casual vibe. I'm just hoping there's no food stains on me that show up on the camera, but there probably is, so that's okay. So where did we finish off yesterday? I think I was just about to launch into how I actually started losing the 20 kilos, and I was saying that I lost that weight through a variety of different methods and through different stages, and we're going to talk about them all. Not that there's that many, but we're going to talk about them all because they all had a very important role to play in my weight loss journey, and I think some, if not most, of these things will factor into your weight loss journey as well. So if we want to be specific about the 20 kilos of weight loss, let's start at the beginning. The first few kilos actually gradually came off after we moved from Queensland to Sydney, purely because I was walking and moving a lot more, and it wasn't quick or noticeable necessarily, but through increased incidental movement and basically no change to what I was eating, the weight did start to come off. So if you're someone who's not really active at all and you start moving more, even if it is just incidental walking, you may start to notice some weight loss as well. I should also add that while being overweight and having quite a significant amount of weight to lose can be very intimidating and overwhelming, it can also be really motivating because certainly in my experience, and I know anecdotally this has happened to quite a few other people, when you do make a change to your diet or your exercise, the weight can start coming off quite quickly. And that kind of gets the wheels moving for motivation and you see results, so you just want to keep going. So this 10 kilo chunk of weight came off after the previously mentioned bum fire was lit. So from February 2023, I kicked into gear. I started eating really well, lots of fruit and veggies and lean protein. I was drinking more water. I cut way back on processed food and sugar and alcohol, but I still indulged at least a few times per weekend and often a lot more. And I was eating a lot of food. I was also walking pretty regularly, about an hour a day, but sometimes I skipped that on weekends. Plus some incidental walking to get coffee or groceries and stuff. My diet was at least 80% whole foods, probably more, and I walked a lot. That's it. I didn't track my food and I never went to the gym. And I lost 10 kilos pretty quickly. And then I continued the same methods and I lost a few more kilos. So when we combine the 10 kilos with the few more I lost after that, with the few I lost when we first moved from Queensland to Sydney, I ended up losing 15 kilos. So I was 15 kilos down from my heaviest weight by mid-2023. And then it all kind of came to a halt, and no matter what I did, I couldn't lose any more weight. And I made a video about that, which I'll link below, and that video ended up doing really well. And I was so passionate in that video about having finally found the reason that I couldn't lose weight anymore. It was my lack of routine, I said with certainty and relief. I could finally get on with losing weight. I just needed my routine back. Or so I thought at the time. But spoiler alert, it was not my routine, it was my thyroid. Eventually, I got so frustrated with my lack of weight loss, despite doing everything right, that I ended up seeing an amazing doctor who did some proper blood tests on my thyroid and my overall health. And despite all my previous blood tests with other doctors coming back saying my thyroid was completely fine and my blood sugars were completely fine, it turns out they were not fine. They were far from fine. In fact, my thyroid was so bad that it was an underactive thyroid. So I had hypothyroidism. And I also had developed an autoimmune condition called Hashimoto's, which is where, simply put, your body kind of attacks your thyroid. And the doctor explained to me that those thyroid issues were a very likely reason or a very likely contributor to why I wasn't able to lose weight, even though I was being so healthy and trying so hard. Now, at this stage, when I was diagnosed with all the thyroid things, I was also in the early stages of pregnancy. And I was very fortunate because in my case, my autoimmune condition and basically all my thyroid issues kind of went into remission while I was pregnant. And I'm told that that can happen for some people. Their autoimmune conditions can flare up when they're pregnant, but for some people, they just kind of lay low. And my thyroid cooperated so well while I was pregnant. All my blood tests showed totally normal thyroid function and the weight fell off. I mean, I was eating well and I was exercising, but the difference is this time the weight actually came off and my thyroid thyroid. You'd think I'd be able to say it right by now. It worked the whole way through my pregnancy up until a few months postpartum. And I ended up losing weight during my pregnancy because it was working so well. And I don't know specifically how much weight I lost because, I mean, I wasn't really tracking it, to be honest, but it's hard to tell because while I was losing weight, I was also growing a baby and all the other baby related weight gain that happens. So my stomach was getting bigger, but my arms and my legs and my face, they were all shrinking and the scales didn't really budge for my whole pregnancy. So that was incredible. And it wasn't just the weight. Having a working thyroid made me feel so good. I forgot what it felt like to feel that good. So to summarize, for that particular chunk of weight to come off, my method was seeking professional support. Even though I went to a number of doctors, they all did blood tests, they all told me everything was fine, I knew it wasn't. I knew something was off and I just kept digging and I followed my gut until I figured out what it was, and that paid off in so many ways. But it wouldn't be a weight loss journey without some more ups and downs. And my first year postpartum, which has only just come to a close, was pretty brutal. And it was hard for a number of reasons, but in terms of weight loss specifically, my weight over that year just yo-yoed so much, especially because my thyroid after a few months postpartum gradually came to a halt and stopped working again. I ended up going on a low dose thyroid medication and adopting a gluten-free diet, both of which were specifically for my thyroid and both of which I'm still doing. And they definitely helped, but I was just really struggling to maintain my usual healthy lifestyle. And at about the 10 months postpartum, I started gaining weight again. And by the time we got back from a few different holidays in August, I was looking pretty chunky. So to combat the chunk, I ended up doing a 30-day no sugar challenge, which I did a video about the other week and I'll link it below. It's a very short, sweet video. It's an easy watch and I recommend it. And that 30-day challenge was the final step for me making it to the marker of 20 kilos of weight lost from my heaviest weight. But it wasn't just the no sugar over those 30 days. I also cut out alcohol and I reduced my serving sizes because I realized that while I was still eating a really whole foods based diet, I hadn't actually adjusted my serving sizes from when I was like 15, 20 kilos heavier. I was still eating the same amounts of those foods. So for me, it was appropriate to reduce how much I was eating. And with those few adjustments over the 30 days, the weight started coming off again. And post that 30-day challenge, I've stuck with the smaller serving sizes and I'm trying to eat a little bit less freely on the weekends. So I'm still indulging here and there in some chocolate and some wine and maybe some cheese and bread, but I'm still trying to reel it in a bit more. And now here I am, 20 kilos down from the person that I barely recognize now. So to summarize, let's wrap this up nice and neatly, how I actually lost 20 kilos. And even though I can't necessarily attribute a certain amount of kilograms to each different method that I used, they all played a very important role. So initially, I simply started moving from a sedentary lifestyle to daily movement. Then I shifted my diet to a pretty strict whole food diet and cut back on sugar, alcohol and processed foods, but still ate pretty freely on the weekends. I sought medical advice when something didn't seem right for me. In my case, it was my thyroid. I did a 30-day challenge to reset and motivate myself when things started slipping. And finally, while maintaining a predominantly whole foods diet, I cut back on serving sizes and started eating amounts that were appropriate for my body and my weight. And I've permanently cut back on sugar and alcohol. So while I still indulge in fun food and drink, it's definitely a lot less than I used to. And that's kind of my new normal now. And that, my friends, is how I did it. That is how I lost 20 kilos. And if you guys want a more detailed version of what I eat in a day or across a week in order to keep up the weight loss, then let me know and I can do a separate video on that. But for my next video, we're going to talk about the next 20 kilos because whilst I've already lost 20 and that is amazing and that is incredible, I'm only halfway there. Because when I first started this health and weight loss journey, I imagined I probably had about 40 kilos to lose. And now I've lost 20, I'm thinking that 40 is still pretty accurate. And I'm making a plan because while weight loss is still a main focus for me, I'm thinking bigger picture. I'm thinking life overhaul. I'm thinking total transformation. I'm thinking I want to level up to be the best version of myself that I can be. Gradually and sustainably, of course, but I'm really curious to see what I can achieve in 12 months and how I can transform myself and my life, which I know sounds like a massive undertaking, but what have I got to lose? I've got everything to gain from doing something like this. And I just want to see what I can achieve in 12 months. And I have the beginnings of a plan for how I'm going to start doing this. And a big part of that is to continue losing weight. So if that is up your alley, then I will see you next fortnight for the next video.